The surgical theater at Interstellar Medica Academy buzzed with anticipation. 17 students from 6 planets hovered in staggered tiers around the central slab, where a pale-skinned Terran male lay sedated, motionless, under the glow of suspended diagnostic orbs. The observers were first-year anatomy students, bright-eyed, multilingual, and profoundly unprepared for what was about to unfold. "Observe the abdominal structure," Dr. Keelan instructed, his 4 hands manipulating a hollow display that mapped human musculature. No other species evolved such redundant, layered, soft tissue shielding with such poor autonomous regeneration. Fascinating, isn't it? There were murmurs of agreement. One student from Halafis 3 tilted his head and chirped, "Primitive, but resilient." Another from the oceanic moon of Pellar clicked her tongue skeptically. "Why store digestion in the middle of the torso? That's tactically absurd." Kellen waved toward the body. "We'll begin with a transdermal opening of the rectus sheath. You'll note the slow vascular response in..." A soft, wet sound interrupted him. It began beneath the ribline, just below the sternum. The skin didn't tear or rupture. It parted organically, deliberately. The muscle tissue retracted like flower petals, curling back at dusk. No blood, no incisions, just exposed fascia giving way to something beneath. The lights overhead caught a glint of metal, then a sound, rhythmic, pulsing, faintly melodic. The room froze. One of the students gasped, "Is it moving?" The object revealed itself inch by inch, metallic but veined, embedded just behind the abdominal wall. The surface shimmered with faint bioluminescence, and along its ridge, narrow slits pulsed like gills. The organ or device was no larger than a melon. At its center was a rounded panel, faintly translucent, behind which something small stirred. "There's something alive in there," barked a drill student, backing away. "Containment field now," shouted Dr. Kellen. The room dimmed as a pale green energy dome snapped over the slab. "Did it trigger from our scan?" another student asked, eyes wide. "I don't know," Keelan snapped. "That's not a human implant. That's not any known implant." "I thought this was a cadaver," someone whispered. "It isn't," said the Polaris student. "Look, he's breathing." All eyes turned to the chest. It was subtle, so shallow it had gone unnoticed, but the man's rib cage rose and fell, once, then again. And then, with a sudden inhale that startled even the AI recorder, he coughed. "Don't touch him," Kalan barked, reaching for the sedation override. Too late. The human's eyes blinked open, foggy, confused. He groaned softly, his body tensing as the pain registered. His hands twitched toward his abdomen, then stopped. He blinked again and looked down. "No, oh no, it's too early." He pushed up on one elbow, groaning harder. Sweat beaded across his forehead. "Sir," Kalan said cautiously, "do you know where you are?" The human blinked at the alien's 3 eyes, lips cracked. I'm not dead?" "Great, because this is worse." The containment field adjusted as the man sat more upright, one hand pressed weakly against the fleshy petals of his abdomen. The glowing object inside him pulsed once, stronger now, audible to everyone. The students remained frozen, torn between terror and fascination. Dr. Kalan exhaled. "What is that device in your abdominal cavity?" The human's breathing slowed. "It's my son." No one moved. Then Kalan stepped closer, his voice hushed. "That's biologically impossible." "No," said the human, "it's medically unprecedented." He looked around the room, locking eyes with no one in particular. "I should probably explain." The students leaned in involuntarily, the containment field forgotten, even as the alien device inside him gave another soft pulse. He sat up further with a wince and coughed again. "What year is it?" "July 22nd, 13 Galactic," Kellen replied automatically. "So I'd been under a week," he rubbed his eyes. "Thought I'd bought more time." Kellen took a cautious step forward. "You were admitted for internal instability. Biomonitors suggested a foreign object but no trauma. We scheduled anatomical examination when your vitals dipped. Then this phenomenon began." The human gave a strained smile. Of course you did. Because this would look like a biohazard to anyone who didn't build it. He looked down again. The device inside him shimmered and pulsed once more, slower, stronger. "My name's Nathan Keller," he said, wincing, "and this story's going to sound insane. I encourage you to try anyway," said Kellen. Nathan let out a breath. 15 years ago, during the Yelleth conflicts, I was an infiltration operative, special recon. We weren't exactly supposed to come back. I got dropped behind enemy lines with two objectives: sabotage the facility's embryo labs and extract whatever biogenetic data we could for analysis. He closed his eyes, remembering. It was a slaughter. The compound was already burning when I got there. Half their staff was dead. I found her in one of the cryochambers, still alive, a scientist. She begged me not to kill her. He opened his eyes, voice steadier now. So I didn't. I hid her in the venting systems and destroyed everything else. Murmurs buzzed among the students. After the war ended, I went looking for her, found her, hid her again, this time on Earth, and he smiled faintly, we fell in love. "You said the object is your son?" said one of the students slowly. Nathan nodded. "Her species and mine aren't genetically compatible. Natural conception's impossible, even in vitro failed. So we built something else." He leaned back against the padded slab, eyes heavy. "She designed a bio-capsule, alien genocode wrapped in Terran immunocoating. It needed a stable host and a very specific endocrine balance. That turned out to be me." Kellen looked speechless. "You're telling us you volunteered to gestate a hybrid child?" Nathan nodded. "We tried everything else. This was the only way." "But why now?" asked another student. "Why is it opening?" Nathan looked down again. "The medical scans must have triggered the device. It thinks we're in a sterile delivery setting." "But it isn't complete," Kalon said, pointing to the capsule. "No. We still had 3 weeks. 3 weeks until what?" Nathan winced. "Until he's born." Gasps erupted around the room. The device pulsed again, stronger, louder. Then, within the translucent membrane, something shifted, a faint, unmistakable movement. "Was that—" Kalen began. Nathan smiled tiredly. "Yeah, that was his foot." Around the surgical theater, 17 alien students stared at the pulsing light inside the open cavity of a human abdomen, utterly silent. Outside the theater, the Academy's emergency ethics protocols activated. A case file flagged by both xenobiology and diplomacy channels was transmitted to the Galactic Council. Inside, Nathan placed a hand gently on his stomach and whispered, "He's awake." The hallway outside the surgical theater was no longer quiet. A ripple of tension hummed through the administrative levels of the Academy. Medical ethics officers conferred in hushed voices while security drones hovered at alert status. Inside, the containment dome around Nathan had been adjusted to maintain sterility while allowing communication. The capsule in his abdomen continued to pulse a slow, steady rhythm that echoed like a second heartbeat. The surgical theater was still full. None of the students had left. Dr. Keelan paced a short loop near the surgical table. His lower left hand twitched whenever the bio-capsule emitted a soft chime. "You're not in immediate danger," he said finally, looking down at Nathan. "But I can't let this proceed unmonitored." Nathan swallowed. He looked pale, sweat gathering along his hairline, but he kept his voice level. "You don't understand. The capsule's integrated with my major vasculature. If you try to remove it, you won't just damage him, you'll kill me." Kellen's pupils dilated, slightly alarmed. "The child is directly vascularized through your abdominal aorta and 3 collateral arteries. Her design was elegant. It bypassed the liver, rerouted around the pancreas, and stayed clear of the colon." "You mean your wife," Kellan said. "You keep saying her. What species?" Nathan hesitated. "Velethi, from Sector 9. This caused a reaction. Several students turned sharply toward each other, some recoiling. One even stepped back. Kellen froze. You're aware that hybrid reproduction between Terran and Valithi is classified as a Tier 5 interspecies breach? I know, Nathan said. But she wasn't a soldier. She was a scientist. We didn't plan this to defy anyone. We planned it because we wanted a family. Kellen exhaled slowly, the corners of his mouth stiff. You've put yourself at the center of a diplomatic and legal maelstrom. Nathan's lips twitched. Yeah. I've been told I'm good at that. One of the students, a pale blue Zith named Corlin, stepped closer to the display. This capsule, it's not just sustaining him, it's synchronizing with his metabolic rates. It adjusted to the sedation protocol. It didn't malfunction, it adapted. Nathan looked at him gratefully. Exactly. He's not a parasite. He's a person. My son. And the capsule is his womb. Corlin frowned. It's brilliant but also unstable. Your vitals are spiking. There's a risk of abdominal rupture if the capsule opens without pressure control. Which is why I need a sterile support environment, not quarantine, not surgery. Kellen hesitated. Nathan, if the child emerges here, you could both die. Nathan closed his eyes for a moment. Not if we stabilize the capsule. There's a vent port at the lower ridge. It allows regulation. I can show you. You're in no condition to operate. I'm not asking to operate, Nathan cut in. I'm asking you to listen. Kellen looked at the students. Everyone except Corlan and Vaya, out, now. They filed out reluctantly. Some stared at Nathan as though he were a walking miracle. Others looked at him like a ticking bomb. Once the room emptied, Kalon activated a local bio-seal and dimmed the containment field to a neutral yellow. Nathan turned his head toward Corlin and Vaya. She built it with a safeguard, he said. If I entered a compromised medical setting, the capsule would pause maturation. That's why it's reacting. It thinks I'm in distress. You are in distress, Vienneted. Yeah. But he isn't. Corlin moved closer, eyes wide with wonder. I've never seen anything like this. The internal symbiosis is beautiful. The nutrient lines run like placenta vessels, but they're modular, almost like fungal hyphae, Nathan finished. It was her idea. Fungi bridge genetic boundaries all the time. She used them to build the interface. Kellen looked from one student to the other. We're not equipped to deliver this child. We don't even know how the capsule opens. I do, Nathan said. We designed it to respond to synchronized heart rates. That was how he'd know I was ready. But the scanners here disrupted that signal and started the failsafe. So what do you need? Kalen asked. Assisted override. A circulatory mimic to delay the breach sequence. It'll buy us the last 3 weeks he needs. Yaya blinked. You want us to fake your heartbeat? Yes. Feed him a false rhythm, keep him calm. That's extremely risky. Not as risky as surgery, Nathan replied. Before Kalon could respond, a voice chimed in from the overhead system. Dr. Kalon, you are ordered to transfer the patient to high containment. By order of the Galactic Ethics Council, a tribunal has been convened. Kellen stiffened. How did they find out so fast? Nathan sighed. There's a reason I didn't go to a Terran hospital. Word travels faster in alien networks than at home. Can they override my authority here? Kalon asked. They can revoke your license, Nathan said, and detain me. And the child? Nathan met his eyes. They'll dissect him. Call it a biohazard. Study him in pieces. Corlan and Vaya looked horrified. But if we stabilize the capsule, Nathan said quickly, he can be delivered, safely, legally. He'll be real. They can't unperson him once he's born. Kellen looked at the pulsating capsule again. It chimed gently, emitting a soft blue glow. Inside, a limb shifted again, delicate, unmistakably humanoid. I've done things in war I'll never be proud of, Nathan said, voice cracking. But this isn't one of them. I made a choice to protect something that didn't exist yet. I made space for him inside me. I can't lose him now. Kellen turned away, pacing in silence. Then, with a long breath, he tapped the local comm. Computer, delay transfer, medical override, initiate circulatory mimic calibration with external biometric input. Unauthorized sequence, please confirm credentials. He scanned his retinal code. Override accepted. Helen looked at Corlan. You'll build the mimic sequence. Via, prep the stabilizers. Nathan, try not to move. The lights dimmed as the room transformed into a true surgical pod. Scanners spun into position. Fluid monitors lit up. Corlan looked at the capsule, fingers already darting over the controls. It's not a womb, he murmured. It's a promise. Nathan smiled faintly. That's what we hoped. And beneath his ribs, the faintest ripple answered back. The child shifted again, sensing stability, pausing its emergence. The race against protocol had begun. The Academy's sub-level medical wing, normally reserved for post-op isolation, was converted into an emergency delivery prep suite. Monitors tracked Nathan's vitals from 16 angles, and a wall of containment diagnostics observed every twitch from the capsule. What had begun as a simple educational dissection had spiraled into a multi-governmental crisis. Above them, in a secured tribunal chamber, a three-species council gathered, one Terran, one Valethi, and one neutral Saldran representative. They watched a live feed of the stabilized capsule embedded in Nathan's open abdomen, flanked by Corlan and Via, who worked tirelessly to regulate the heartbeat mimic. Patient is holding, Via said quietly. Stabilized at 92 beats per minute. Synchronization is 84%. Nathan's lips barely moved. He's calm. I can feel it. Corlan double-checked the stabilization valve. Capsule membranes responding. Reduced contractile pressure. We bought time. Time, however, was not in abundant supply. Kellen had left the suite to present his case before the tribunal. Nathan lay half-conscious, sweating and pale. The physical cost of the capsule integration was catching up fast. Anemia, internal fluid redistribution, and steady abdominal swelling that pressed on his diaphragm. Breathing was harder now. Every few minutes his hands gripped the bedding just to stay alert. I should have waited longer before signing up for the class, he murmured weakly. Guess I'm an overachiever. You should conserve your strength, Via said, adjusting the oxygen stream. But Nathan grunted a chuckle. Last time I heard that, I was smuggling a bioscan prototype through an asteroid belt. Corlan looked up. What happened? I passed out and woke up in a medical crate next to a Torvian corpse. The two students blinked at him. Humor, Nathan said, eyes fluttering. It's a human thing. Your humor's medically unsound, Phi muttered, but there was the faintest flicker of relief in her voice. Then the lights dimmed again, and Kellen returned. He moved fast. We have a temporary hold, he said without preamble. The council split. The Valethi representative called for immediate extraction and genetic verification. The Terran rep demanded diplomatic review. The Saldran abstained. What does that mean? Via asked. We have 4 hours, Kalan said. After that, jurisdiction defaults to galactic law, and Nathan will be detained under interspecies biohazard protocol. Nathan forced his eyes open. He'll never survive that. They'll tear him out of me in a lab. We won't let it come to that, Kalan said grimly. We're accelerating development. Via stiffened. Are you suggesting we induce? No, Nathan croaked. Too soon. He's not ready. We can stimulate post-neural acceleration, Corlan said suddenly, thinking aloud. Enhance maturation without breach. Kellen nodded. I was hoping you'd say that. I'll need neural substrates, Corlan muttered, tapping quickly, and real-time gestational overlay. I can pull records from the capsule logs, Nathan said, voice hoarse. She recorded everything. Where are they? Kalen asked. In my implant, Nathan said, base of the neck. Via moved behind him. A small access port glowed faintly under the skin. She tapped it with a sanitized stylus. The logs appeared lines of Valethi code and schematics. Is that her voice? Via whispered as a low tone began to play. It was melodic, clipped, but unmistakably gentle. Nathan's eyes brimmed as he nodded. Yeah, That's her. They fell silent as the voice issued instructions. Hormonal calibrations, substrate blends, neural pathways. The capsule was more than a container. It was an orchestra of micro-adaptations, all modeled after her understanding of his physiology. She built this entire system around you, Kalen murmured, amazed, not just to host but to protect. He said it had to be me, Nathan said. Not because I was stronger, because I'd fight for him if no one else did. Maya loaded the substrate blend into a micro-diffuser. Beginning neurostimulus. The capsule flickered. A tremor passed through it, not violent but definite. Then another. Nathan tensed. What's happening? Corlin asked quickly. He's dreaming, Nathan whispered. First time. The readouts spiked. Brainwave activity inside the capsule lit up like an infant REM scan. He's achieving fetal consciousness, Vaya confirmed. He's viable. Then another tremor. This time, stronger. Corlin froze. Wait, that wasn't from the capsule. The ground vibrated under them. A distant whine sounded from above, then stop. Kellen's eyes narrowed. That was structural. Then a high-pitched alarm blared through the room. Security breach in tribunal wing. Repeat, unauthorized entry in High Council's sector. What the hell now? Nathan groaned. A voice crackled over the intercom. This is Captain Lisranen of Terran Special Med Command. Stand down and release the patient. He is under sovereign protection. Vaya turned white. That's Black Ops, she whispered. They're here for him. Kellen cursed. She's not supposed to even be in this sector. Corlin checked the security feed. A team of armored Terrans marched through the corridor, pushing past stunned officials. Get him out, Nathan said urgently. Get the capsule out before they grab it. We can't, Kellen snapped. He's still vascularized. Separation will kill him. Another tremor shook the room, this one from inside the capsule. A soft hiss sounded. Corlin checked the output. Pressure's climbing. He's waking, Nathan breathed. He knows something's wrong. Via's voice trembled. Capsule membrane showing pre-release tension? No, Kellen barked. Hold it, we'll lose containment. Then, a voice human, calm but chilling, sounded just outside the surgical suite. Step away from the slab. Renan entered, tall and grim in her armor, a Terran rifle slung across her chest. Nathan didn't move. Liz, I should have guessed. You put yourself on every watch list when you vanished, she said coldly. Now we know why. You touch him? Nathan rasped. I swear to God. Renan raised a hand. I'm not here to hurt you, but this hybrid is illegal. The council wants answers. He's not a threat. He's not a human, Renan snapped. He's mine, Nathan growled. He's ours. Behind him, the capsule shivered. A faint crack appeared along its ridge. Corlin gasped. Membrane is thinning. Renan looked at the glow, then at Nathan, then at the boy stirring within. She lowered her weapon. I'll give you 1 hour, she said. Nathan blinked, surprised. Why? She glanced at the capsule. Because I don't want to explain to my superiors how I murdered a sleeping child. Then she turned and left the room. Kellen exhaled sharply. We won't get another chance. Vaya, prepare fluid surge support. Corlin, get surgical suction online. Nathan? I know, he whispered. It's time. As his child stirred one more time inside him, the capsule responded. A small seam widened. Air rushed in. And Nathan reached out to hold the moment still, just long enough for life to emerge. The room fell into a deep, unnatural quiet as the capsule began its final sequence. The seam along its top lengthened, then split with a soft, wet sound, peeling open like a breathing lung. Sterile vapor hissed upward in thin tendrils, carrying with it the faint smell of iodine and something floral, an echo of Velithy biochemistry. Inside, fluid churned. Kellen gave sharp, measured orders. Suction ready. Core temperature stabilizer engaged. Begin neonatal transfer on my mark. Vyaya and Corlin flanked Nathan, their hands trembling with urgency. Nathan, drenched in sweat, barely conscious, nodded to them both. He didn't speak. He couldn't. The capsule's interior shimmered, parting with a soft push. Something small, slick, and iridescent shifted into view, curled, tiny limbs drawn to its chest, a faint luminescent sheen over soft gray-pink skin. It was the size of a preterm infant, its body suspended in viscous fluid, a cord, fine as thread, pulsed with rhythmic life, connecting child to capsule. The orbit of Europa. Alive, Corlin whispered, beneath the thick layers of cloud rate. Kellan snapped. 90 beats per minute, stable. Respiratory? Negative, no, spontaneous breathing yet. Nathan tried to sit up, but the pain kept him still. His mouth moved, soundless. Vyaya leaned in. He wants skin contact, she translated. It's in the logs. Human neonate bonding triggers respiratory response. Remove the barrier, Kellan ordered. Now. Vyaya reached into the capsule with sterilized gloves and gently lifted the child free. The fluid clung to its skin, trailing from small fingers, translucent webbing clinging between limbs and body. She moved with reverence. This wasn't a specimen. This was someone. She laid the infant on Nathan's exposed chest. And then, the sound they didn't dare expect. A small, ragged cry. The child's lungs inflated, then contracted. Another cry followed, louder this time. Spontaneous respiration achieved, Corlin said, eyes wide. He's breathing. Nathan choked, overwhelmed. Hey there, buddy. The child blinked, its eyes a stormy mix of hazel and violet. Its skin began shifting tones as Valethi cells recalibrated under open air. 2 tiny nostrils flared, testing a new world. Kellan swallowed thickly. Cord separation in 30 seconds. Vyaya, clamp and seal. Corlin, update the tribunal. But Corlin hesitated. They're watching already, he said, glancing at the observation lens. Indeed they were. The live feed from the surgical suite had transmitted every second of the delivery to the tribunal chamber, and though galactic law had no precedent for what they'd just witnessed, it no longer mattered. The child was breathing, crying, alive. And everyone had seen it. Nathan reached up with a trembling hand and cupped the back of the child's head. The cries subsided. The baby's breathing steadied. He's perfect, Nathan murmured. She was right. Vyaya gently completed the cord detachment, and fluid monitors began flushing the remaining biogel from Nathan's cavity. His abdomen, still partially open, was slowly closing itself around the space where the capsule had been, tissue knitting by design. His vitals were barely stable. Kellan leaned over him. You need transfusion support. You've lost more than 30% blood volume. Give it to him first, Nathan said, nodding toward the child. He's not injured. Then give me enough to stay awake, Nathan whispered, just until he opens his eyes again. Kellan didn't argue. Vyaya started the drip. The door to the surgical suite hissed open, and Captain Renan entered again. This time, her armor was unsealed, helmet tucked under one arm. She walked slowly to the bedside, looked down at the baby, and something shifted in her expression. So, she said softly, this is what all the trouble was for. Nathan managed a weary smile. I'd do it again, twice. She looked at him. You disobeyed every treaty, vanished into exile, and made yourself a political mess I can't explain. He didn't answer. But you did it for this, she continued. For him. Nathan nodded. And for her. Renan looked back down. The child was watching her now, eyes unblinking. What's his name? She asked. Nathan hesitated, eyes filling. Sullen. She blinked. Valethi lay beneath the thick layers of his shirt, where it stuck to his shoulders like saddle shot. Mulzak stared at his hands, the skin on them pink from the sun, which he was never more than 3 worlds over from, Nathan said. said he'd never belonged to one world. Corlin stepped forward, tone hesitant. With respect, what happens now? Renan looked at him, then at Kellen. There's no precedent. No clause for a legal being created in violation of interspecies reproductive law who now breathes, cries, and looks you straight in the eye. She looked at Solon again. But he's here, and we saw it. She turned to leave, pausing at the door. So now, we write the law to match him. Nathan let out a breath he didn't realize he'd held. The rest unfolded over weeks. Nathan underwent extensive recovery. His abdominal cavity required cellular grafts to close properly. The internal blood loss left him weakened for months, and he remained under observation at the academy until he could stand without assistance. That took nearly 3 weeks. Solon was placed in neonatal care under the watch of a joint Valethi-Terran medical team. His dual biology fascinated researchers, but under strict conditions: no samples without parental consent, no invasive tests, and absolutely no detainment. Eventually, Nathan's wife arrived under diplomatic clearance, eyes wet the moment she saw them. She cradled Solon in her arms for the first time under the artificial sunlight of a garden dome built to mimic both Earth and Valethi biomes. Half wildflowers, half floating lichen. Solon's tiny hands reached for her face and touched both her cheeks and his father's. Kellen later called that moment the first act of peace biology ever gave us. In the official report, Nathan Keller's procedure was classified not as illegal implantation, but as voluntary gestational support. The term paternal host entered xenomedical lexicons. Ethics boards debated it for cycles, but in the years that followed, others quietly asked for the schematics. Not just Terrans, not just Velethi, others too. Refugees, couples, families who wanted something that biology refused them. The food they came here to eat, the sleep in, and the smell of putting underwear bothered them. And her design found purpose beyond survival. Nathan and his family returned to Earth for a time. Solon grew strong, his eyes always searching, his mind sharp from the start. He asked once, as a toddler, why his dad had a scar. Nathan lifted his shirt and let him press his palm to the faint ridge just above the navel. Jupiter sounded softly, "Is where I carried you." Solon blinked. "Like a pouch?" "Sort of." Solon looked thoughtful. "That's weird." Nathan smiled. "Yeah, but you were worth it." They lived in quiet anonymity, far from tribunals, battles, or classrooms. But every so often someone new would appear, an alien, a researcher, a parent with hope in their voice. And Solon would peer at them from behind his father's legs and smile, half Terran, half Velethi, and wholly born of love and science. A child between stars.